I would like to invite, the man that you all came to see. I have no words how to describe him. He's in the Gurkha army at the moment, and he is the first Gurkha to climb Mt Everest while serving in British military. He holds multiple world records, including the fastest time to climb 3 mountains above 8,000 meters. That is Mt Everest, Lhotse and Makalu. He did that in 5 days, 3 hours, and 35 minutes. Currently holds the Guinness World Record for 3 different, feats. He's also awarded MBE by the Queen of England. MBE stands for Member of the Most Excellent Order of the British Empire for his excellent service and achievements. He's trying to support, with this project, he's trying to support charities like, he's trying to make aware of mental health, mental health problems, and also support children in Nepal, children who've been deprived of health and education and those essential things. So without further ado, I would like you guys to join with me to welcome the one and only Nirmal Purja MBE.
Evening, sir, ladies and gents. It's an absolute honor to be here today, and thank you all for turning up tonight. Okay, I would like to welcome formally for everyone who is in this room to Project Possible. Okay, the project that some of the world, renowned mountaineers believe is not possible. Okay, the project that everybody who I have been, all the people, corporates that I have approaching, they think I'm some sort of a joke. So literally everybody believes it's impossible. But in other words, the project that will highlight a true ability of a Gurkha, like a British military, a Nepalese, United Kingdom, and whole of the human endeavor. So ladies and gents, please welcome to Project Possible. I call this Power of Possible because I absolutely believe in possibility. If you really believe in something, you can always do it. For those who don't know me, of course, my name is Nirmal Purja, known as Nims these days. I'll tell you why later on. So since kid, my only dream was to join the Gurkhas. Okay, I had 2 brothers who joined the Gurkhas as well, and all my relatives. Obviously Bimda is here, I used to see him when I was a kid. My dad was in the Indian Gurkha as well, so that was my only dream. Okay, and I still remember I was in a hostel, and I used to wake up at 2 o'clock, go for a 20-kilometer run. That's in year 8. Okay, guys, for those who year 8, I used to do that. So anyway, long story short, in 2003, I managed to join the Brigade of Gurkhas, and 2006, I think first time what I did was, the biggest thing for me was, I always wanted to do something, something like challenging in my life, and I think that's what it's kind of been through. So 2006, I did All Arms Commander course. And after that, obviously, in 2009, I went for United Kingdom Special Forces selection. And I will tell you this story here. When UK Special Forces is a big thing. Okay, for those who don't know what it is, probably do a bit of homework and you would know. UK Special Forces is the ultimate force in United Kingdom. There's nothing above or beyond that. So that's the ultimate force. And then just to put things into perspective, out of 300 or 400, whatever the number is, those guys who come from different part of the military, who basically they are the best of the best, but when they come into the selection, only 5 or 10 makes it. We got 2 regiments, SAS and SBS, and then each of those regiments is has got only a certain number of soldiers. Obviously, I'm not going to say the numbers and etc. for obvious reasons. Anyway, from 2010 onwards, I was deployed across the globe, including some of the areas that obviously I couldn't say here. Well, the 4 tours I did was in Afghanistan, and if you count the days, I think I probably spent more than 2 years over there. 2014, managed to get a degree from Loughborough University, And as I said, UK Special Forces is a very busy schedule. We call this as a washing machine cycle, because you roll out of the door probably maybe 5 o'clock in the morning when you are in England, and you don't probably come home till 8, 9, depending upon what you are doing. But even in that busy schedule, I managed to get a bit of academic background behind my back. And then the reason why it's over there is, guys, and obviously Dinesh and a few guys have heard it already, but I absolutely believe in if you really want something, you can always do it. And then how I have done is, it doesn't matter if you are, president of US, prime minister of England, or if you are like Bill Gates, the most richest man in the world, etc. We all have 24 hours, right? As long as you can manage that properly, you can always achieve bigger and greater things. That's what it's there for. 2016, on a pre-deployment leave. So for those who doesn't know pre-deployment leave, it's a leave that you get before you go away on operations. Okay, I made the last minute decision, went to the bank, told them I'm going to buy a car, got the loan of £15,000 in the interest rate of 3.9% per annum, emptied my saving, and I was on the plane to Nepal to climb Everest. Why? Okay, because that was only one time during probably my career where I would probably get 4 weeks leave and Everest season was kind of kicking off. Okay, why I'm doing this? Okay, I love absolutely grabbing an opportunity in a lifetime. Okay, so if I hadn't done that, I wouldn't probably climb. Of course, there was risks, etc., etc. But more than no one knows yourself more than anyone else. Okay, so obviously I had the experience, etc., etc. Long story short, managed to climb Everest, rescue a girl from the death zone who was left there to die, and within 4 days I was in Afghanistan kicking the door. Okay, but when I got into the base camp, there were loads of media, press, and everything. They wanted to film everything, but obviously because I was still in the UK Special Forces, I couldn't release that kind of stuff. So it kind of went quiet. So, but again, in that incident, the only person who knew that I was climbing Everest was my wife. Okay, because I couldn't lie, obviously packing up my kit, taking loan, etc. But even my two brothers who were in the Gurkhas, they didn't even knew about it, nor my military things. I think we're that one of those people who kind of love to do things secretly and then just walk away. I think that's kind of thing. But anyway, 2017, I was nominated as one of the best subject matter expert in the mountain cell. Your job is to train all the SF guys and kind of get them ready for extreme cold weather warfare environment. 2018, because of the rescue I did and because of the expedition with the Gurkhas and the world records, I was awarded obviously MBE by Her Majesty the Queen. I'm going to play a quick small clip.
In 2016, Nims decided to pursue his dream of climbing Mt Everest. Arriving late in the season, he had limited time to acclimatise, but pushed on regardless.
And my solo expedition to Everest just kicks off from today.
Despite not joining a commercial expedition, he successfully summited Mt Everest on the 20th of May. During his descent, he found a barely conscious young female climber just 450 metres from the summit. So far into the death zone, her chances of survival were zero. Although it normally requires a team of 6 Sherpas to safely rescue someone from this altitude, Nims couldn't leave her. Using every ounce of energy he had left, he single-handedly rescued her to Camp 4, saving her life.
So, sorry, ladies and gents, obviously for those who don't know what death zone is, from 8,000 meters and above, literally the human body couldn't survive. Literally everyone is dying. It's just a matter of someone can climatize a bit longer and some couldn't climatize, and it's that only difference. So I was on my way down from, after the summit. I saw it far, and at first I thought it was just a day sack. And I was like, but as I started coming close to it, it was a girl. Okay, the first thing I did was check her oxygen. She had loads of oxygen, cranked that into full, and I got my radio out, and obviously asked the rescue team if they could come. But I knew that the rescue team were involved in rescuing somebody else, and I knew they had just been into base camp only 2 hours prior. I'm also taking shortcut in this story, but I had loads of drama there. I had pulmonary edema. Pulmonary edema is, when you get water in your lungs, etc., etc. Okay, I was told by 3 doctors that I couldn't climb Everest. I had my chest X-ray, etc., etc. So why that happened is normally it takes more than 5 weeks for a normal climber to get up to Camp 2. And that's like Sherpas carrying their kit, etc., etc. But it took me 5 days to get to Camp 2, carrying everything by myself. Okay, so if you see the difference, and I was going very fast, but I was going very fast because I didn't have enough time to climatize properly. So this is the whole of the story, but I'm not going to cover it. I'm just going to cover a few points. So I was in the hospital, and I was told that Nims, expedition is over for you. But then, I said in my mind, okay, I know there are a few very young crowds here. What I thought. So I was like, hang on a second. This doctor doesn't really know my body, to be honest. It's just a generic thing. So what I believe, that's why I talk about believing in yourself. Okay, I believe myself that I can get better. Okay, and I did. And I'll just give you the example. If you have 2 patients with a similar illness in the hospital, the one who has got better mindset and better mind attitude will get better. Do you agree?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I use the same principle over there. Every morning I was thinking, Nims, you can do this, you can feel better. So it was believing. The power of believing is so huge that, guys, if you believe in something, always, do that. Go for it. Okay? So yeah, I was 95% well. Went up. On the way down, I found that girl. She was left there to die. Nobody, probably hundreds of people have walked past her. Okay? But why? Because the rule in the death zone is it's always better to have 1 casualty than 2. Right? If that makes sense. And also what many people know is, honestly, here you can obviously, grab that phone and walk away, whatever it is. It's so easy. But over there, like that 1 phone or extra any 1 kg is like, probably you feel like you're lifting maybe 100 kg or 50 kg to somebody else. People take 1 step and they step for 5 minutes. They stop for 5 minutes to take the breath. Okay? So it's completely an extreme environment. So probably so many people get phased out by that. And I'll also give you this example. Let's say if you are literally drowning in the water, doesn't matter if you got your mom, dad, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever it is, you'll try to grab them and you try to survive, right? That is what it's called survival instinct. And when that thing kicks off, you honestly, doesn't matter who it is, you only think about surviving yourself, okay? But that's the human nature. So many people get phased out by that, but obviously I did. Yeah, so I think that's probably the hardest thing I have ever done in my life, That world record wasn't really that hard, but honestly, this was like, I pretty much brought her down all the way to Camp 4. When I brought down to Camp 4, that's out of the death zone, I called the rescue team, and I said to them, guys, this is me. Look, if I stay here for any longer, I'm going to be dead as well. And I just stand up, and I made my way down to Camp 2. Okay? Later on, there were like a team of 6 guys, trying to rescue her. It took them 2 days to get her to Camp 2. Okay? They had to leave her at the yellow banks middle of between Camp 4 and Camp 3. Okay, but it's the right thing to do. In altitude, if you leave over there or if you stay there, you're going to be dead. So you're going to have to bring her down. But if you see that, the whole of the scenario and the scene, it's huge. Okay. So long story short, the girl is obviously alive and she's with her family in there. So anyway, after that, I was in Afghanistan and we were having a chat, and the guys, my friends, were like, Nims, what did you do on leave? And I said, I just went and climbed Everest. And they were like, really? And I was like, yeah, I did. And they were like, shut up. And I said, no. And I showed them the pictures and talked about the rescue and all. And it's like, does the girl know about, like, that you have rescued her? And I was like, well, it doesn't really matter because, I'm not a glory hunter or whatever. The names right in the email. And obviously at that time I was still in special forces, so we didn't have any, Facebook, whatever it is. I didn't have email. So I created a Facebook account, okay? And I just emailed her, hey Sima, I hope you are keeping well and recovering well. This is Nims, by the way, and hope you remember. And she was like, dear sir, how can I understand? Okay, that's enough. Anyway, so that's the rescue I did, and that's the 2016 story. Now we're going to go into 2017, okay?
On the 4th of April 2017, Nims and the Gurkha Everest expedition team landed at Lhotse at an altitude of 2,860 metres and started the 2-week trek up to base camp at 5,400 metres. The team progressed slowly, ensuring they were acclimatised to the altitude as they went. As Nims had previously summited Everest in 2016, training the team to cross the icefall fell to him. The techniques had become second nature as climbers relied on them at night during the ascent and descent when extremely tired. Before climbing in the Himalayas, it's tradition to hold a puja ceremony to pray to the mountain gods for good luck and safe passage. Once the team received their blessings from the lamas, they started to climb. To climb Everest, teams have to navigate the Kumbha icefall, a huge glacier slowly sliding down the mountain. As it moves, huge chunks of ice can fall, endangering the ladders and climbers trying to pass. Tragically, 16 Sherpas were killed in such an incident in 2014. Every season on Everest, an official team is responsible for fixing ropes to the summit, but this year bad weather had held them back. After waiting for 2 weeks with no progress, Nims came up with a plan to lead a team of Gurkhas and Sherpas to open the route to the summit themselves. Battling deep snow, the team progressed, knowing the main Gurkha team were just 12 hours behind them. Any delays would cause supplies such as oxygen and food to be wasted and could possibly jeopardize the whole expedition.
So just to set the scenes here, so imagine, you are one of those mountaineers in Everest, okay? And how it works on Everest is normally there will be a official team, and then those guys will be like some of the very experienced guys who have lead, so many expeditions on Everest. What they do is normally they go over there and they set the fixed lines, and rest of the season's mountaineer, they put the crab on and obviously they drag themselves to the summit. 2017, that didn't quite happen, okay? So if you remember the intensity, you are one of those climbers staying in the base camp for more than 2 months. The amount of energy you put over there to get that far. Not only that, but the amount of the financial risks you have taken, everything, it is very intense, okay? So by then, it also we were already acclimatized. It was probably almost 3 weeks. We were sat at the base camp, and then rope never went. So what does that mean for us? Okay, I was one of the lead instructor for the Gurkhas. And I will come into this, and then everyone here, specifically in the younger guys, now think about what I'm saying, okay? So we were on Everest. Okay, whenever you go anywhere, let's say US, outside UK, wherever it is, or even in England, if you say where you're from, you probably say you are from Nepal. Okay, and if people doesn't recognize you, you probably say, oh yeah, I'm a Gurkha, etc. And if they recognize, yes, but if they don't, then you say, okay, I'm from country with do you know Mount Everest, right? And they say, oh okay. So what other people think is being as a Gurkha, being from Nepal. You think like Everest is in your back garden. Okay, they think that. And Gurkhas being, one of the, most, renowned soldier in the world, and not being able to climb Everest, what reputational risks we have. I'll leave that up to you to think, okay? So, obviously, I saw that bigger picture, so I came with a plan that, okay, I will go and set up the fixed lines to the summit. And obviously, the bigger wall was like, who the hell is he? Because I was still an underdog, nobody knew who I was. For those who I met, I used to say, I'm a paramedic in Royal London, and because obviously I have worked over there. And then what you do in special forces is, when you go to any operational area, you always have a cover story. But your cover story has to be so good that you are like a subject matter expertise. I say I'm a paramedic because obviously one of my skill is I can do surgical strike. I can do some minor operations on the field, and I have obviously worked on the hospitals as well. So I said that obviously no one was believing. Yeah, and the biggest thing for me was the pressure, time pressure, because the main team were only like, they were leaving 12 hours behind. And by the time we get to South Col, so South Col is the camp for, right? And you put so much, like planning, preparations, energy, oxygen, everything to put over there. It takes like weeks of planning. The amount of like pressure is huge. And I spoke to one of my friends who had like taken more than 200, clients on Everest, and he's like, Nims, I know you are very strong, etc., etc., but if you just go up to the South Summit and couldn't, fix lines any further than that, that will be the, saddest part of your life. And I was like, oh, thanks, mate. But yeah, anyway, eventually, we managed to summit, and we were the first team from the southern side to open the route. Okay, we'll just put the clip on.
Nims and the fixing team reached the summit on Everest on 15th of May, becoming the first to summit from the southern side that year. This allowed the main team of 10 Gurkhas to summit 12 hours behind. After a successful expedition, the team headed back to Kathmandu, leaving Nims on the mountain to prepare for his speed world record attempt, to climb from Everest summit to Lhotse summit as quickly as possible. 7 days later, he headed back up the mountain. In worsening weather conditions, Nims summited Everest again on the 27th of May. With only 2 hours rest at the South Col, 7,450 metres, he headed towards the summit of Lhotse, the world's fourth highest mountain. "10 hours and 15 minutes after summiting Everest, Nims reached the summit of Lhotse, halving the previous world record. Still not content, 2 days after getting down to Everest base camp, he flew to the base of Makalu, the world's fifth highest mountain. Again battling severe weather conditions, Nim led his Sherpas to the top, becoming the only team to summit that year and gaining another world record for summiting 3 8,000-metre mountains in 5 days.
So yes, those are the world records over there. Three world records. There were so many things that happened over there. My oxygens were, stolen. So many issues. But the thing is, guys, I will tell you on this. Okay. So I was planning to summit Lhotse, and it takes loads of energy to put, oxygens in Camp 4. So when I went to Camp 4, we looked for almost 2 hours. There was no oxygen. Okay. So what we and then also I'll pause here. I'll tell you the story here. 2016, when I was in Everest, there were 2 couples who I had met. Okay, they both were trying to climb Everest. I just met them on the south summit, and then they were coming up. I was going down, and I said to them, guys, summit isn't that far now, and good luck, and I'll see you down there. So what happened after that point is the husband was okay, but his wife was, really tired. So she said to him, look, I cannot go any further. And the guy was, okay, fine, you go down, and I will continue because I still have the energy. Okay, so the guy cracked on, the girl started coming down, but then she started thinking probably, well, the guy who is my husband, who is supposed to, be everything for me, now probably his goal is bigger than myself. So she started going really mad. She couldn't control her the mindset, the brain, and she started hitting her chest, etc., etc. And later on, she was, dead in Camp 4. Okay, we all don't know what happens on Everest because nobody sees the past. It's not his fault as well. Nobody is right or wrong. It's that intensity of the environment we're talking on. And I will put this into one thing perspective. If you are walking down here, okay, and if you try to slip, your reflex actions kicks off, and you will balance it. Correct? And you don't even probably feel it. But if you are climbing and if you have to just you have to balance or something, you have to wait at least 5 to 10 minutes to get your breathing back. Why? Because your brain operates with oxygen as well, right? And if you imagine in the thin air, the amount of oxygen that's going into the brain is also very less. But when you have to do the reflex action, the whole energy goes into the brain. The brain tries to suck whole of the oxygen. Okay, that's why you have to stay for longer in order to come into the balance again. Okay, that's a bit of science. Okay, so I was there. My oxygen was stolen. Of course, people get angry and all. I was a bit angry, but what I said, I said to myself, well, I think probably that oxygen was used for saving someone else's life. Okay? So if you see what I'm doing there, I'm trying to put positive stuff in my brain, physically, even though that's negative. If that makes sense. Okay? And then through that only, I was calm and I managed to climb. Okay? And also I will tell you another thing. When I was climbing Lhotse, I couldn't even see like more than 15 meters. It was worse. The wind speed was probably 95 kilometers per hour. Okay? But then again, I just look at the black rocks and I was just happy. And then guys, another thing, what it brings here, and I want to highlight one thing, sometimes in life, things doesn't always work as a plan. Okay? And there will be some down times in your life. Okay, but if you try to find the positiveness in that as well, sometimes you have to physically put that positiveness in your brain. Okay, anyway, so that second world record, which is, second world record. The fastest time from the summit of Everest to summit of Lhotse. Honestly, I was just trying to climb these 2 mountains just in a day, and I just broke the record by half. I wasn't even trying, and that's honest, guys. The third world record. So, I had planned to do that in 2 weeks, and again, that record was done in 5 days, and that's me stopping for a Namche for a 2-night, celebration, partying. Otherwise, that could have been done in 3 days. And only from that point, I knew that what I was capable of. So, and everybody asked me, like, Nims, when did you start climbing? Honestly, I started climbing in December 2012. If you believe me or not. My first journey started with trekking up to base camp. That was my only plan. But as you start the trail and all, I just saw the mountains. I was just fascinated by it. So it just took me 4.5 years to get all these world records, etc., etc. Okay, and I did everything, probably majority of them on my leave as well. Other than Gurkha expedition 2017. So guys, if you think you don't have time, etc., etc., to do etc. things, I think that's not an excuse.